Chapter 2 covers the basic parts of the computer. We get into the box and we talk about things like RAM and computer processor speed, hard drives, and all of the other components that go into making a computer do what a computer can do. All of this information helps us to understand the capabilities of the computer system that we're working on. In addition to that, we need to understand what the system requirements are of the software that we install on our computer. Computer hardware systems need to be compatible with the software that's installed on them. Otherwise, the software will not work, or it may not perform as fast or as accurately as you would like. So in this section, we're going to look briefly at system requirements of some popular multimedia software. In my Safari browser, I did a keyword search for Adobe Photoshop system requirements and very quickly was able to find the online posted technical specifications for Adobe CS5. The system requirements usually include the requirements for Windows operating systems and Windows PCs as well as those for Mac. And very quickly we can come in here and see the processor requirement for Windows, a minimum of having an Intel Pentium 4 or an AMD Athlon 64 processor. A key component is RAM, and here we see the recommendations include a minimum of 1 gigabyte of RAM. And it's important to realize when you're looking at system recommendations online by the software manufacturers, keep in mind that these are minimum requirements. You will always have better performance if you can exceed the minimum requirements and beef up your workstation. In the case of RAM, 1 gigabyte is the minimum requirement, but if I really want to see Adobe Photoshop perform at a faster speed, I might consider installing 2 gigabytes of RAM or perhaps 3 or 4. The more RAM you have, typically the better many of these rendering intensive software packages will run. 1 gigabyte of hard drive space, well, that doesn't seem too difficult in today's era of 500 gigabyte and 1 terabyte hard drives. And then there's display resolution settings as well. The recommendation here is to have at least a resolution of 1280 by 800 in order to work effectively in Photoshop. GPU acceleration on the video card is recommended, as well as some additional items. If we scroll down to the Mac OS requirements, they're similar, but they just speak in the language of the Mac computer. Obviously the Mac OS instead of Windows OS would be featured. 1 gigabyte of RAM, 2 gigabyte of hard drive space, and the rest of the requirements are very similar to what we would expect on the PC side. If I jump over to Avid Media Composer, they also have a page on their website listing the supported devices and the system requirements. I won't go into them all here, but you can see here again first, Windows is listed on the left, followed by the Mac requirements on the right. On Apple's Final Cut Pro X site, we can see the technical specifications for Final Cut Pro X. These again are the minimum system requirements. Now to translate these requirements into the system that you happen to be using, you need to understand what your system is capable of. And to do that, the process is a little different whether you're working on a Windows-based machine or a Mac machine. Here on my Mac, I can simply select the Apple menu in the upper left-hand corner and choose About this Mac. That opens up this window, and very quickly I can see that I'm running Mac 10.6.6. I have Snow Leopard installed on this machine. I haven't yet upgraded to Lion. My processor is a 2.66 gigahertz Intel Core i7. In terms of memory, I have my laptop fairly loaded up here with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So in terms of Photoshop capability, I'm not going to have any trouble at all meeting the requirements or the minimum requirements for RAM. Well, additional information is buried, and I have to actually go digging for it if I want it. But I can click on this button here for more information, and a larger window will open up, allowing me to find out information about very specific components that are installed on this computer. For instance, I can look at my graphics card, and I can look down here to see how much graphics memory I have installed on my graphics card. Well, I have an Intel HD graphics card with a built-in GPU, and the VRAM, the video RAM, totals 288 megabytes. But anyway, this will help me to learn more about my system, to understand what its capabilities are simply by going and looking at the properties associated with the computer that I'm working on. You don't need to understand all of this, but just knowing where to go and to find the information that you need can often be very helpful. If I bounce back to my PowerPoint slide, since I'm on a Mac, I can't demonstrate how to find out the system settings or the basic information about your system on a Windows machine, but here's a screenshot that shows the basic process. On a Windows operating system, you would choose the control panel, go into all control panel items, and choose System from the main menu. And that will pull up this window showing the basic information about your Windows-based PC. This particular user had Windows 7, the Ultimate Edition installed with Service Pack 1. And below this we can see other important information about this particular system. The processor is an Intel Core 2 Duo CPU, 2.2 gigahertz processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64-bit operating system, etc. I won't bore you with any more of the details, but it's important to know where to go get this information. On a Windows machine, you select the control panel and you navigate to the system settings, and you'll find out all the information you need. On a Mac, you can go into the About Mac menu item and pull up the information dialog to look at your system up close and to discover what its capabilities are.